Hello, we're going to take notes on 10.2a, factoring trinomials. Instead of doing reverse FOIL, I'm going to teach you something called the Kim trick. The Kim trick is used only with trinomials. If you have a trinomial, the Kim trick will work every single time. Now, after you listen to this video and you don't like the Kim trick, the other video will teach you another method called the guess and check method. So you can also learn that method, and you can use whatever method that you like the best. So I'm not going to fill in any of these at all with the Kim trick, but if you want to use the guess and check method, then you can follow along with that video. So let's go ahead and look at this first example using the Kim trick. So step number 1 is to check to see if you can factor out a GCF. So looking at this example, there is no GCF that we can factor out. So we'll go to our second step. Our step number 2 is taking our leading coefficient and multiplying it by the last term. So when we do that, we get x squared plus 11x plus 30. We don't have to write the 3 anymore right here because it's within the last term. Our next step in the Kim trick is we try to find a combination of when I multiply two numbers together, I get the last term, and the same two numbers, when I add together, I get my middle term. So sometimes I like to write the combinations down for 30. The factors for 30 to see which ones would add together to give me 11. So in this case, this would give me 6 and 5. 6 times 5 gives me 30, and 6 plus 5 gives me 11. So that's the right combination because it's the same numbers. So to write it out, the factors, whatever the leading variable is, that goes in the first term in each set of parentheses, and then we place the numbers. If it's a positive, we put plus. If it's negative, we would put minus. So it doesn't matter which one you put the 6 or the 5. It doesn't matter which parentheses. The next step in the Kim trick is we go back to our leading coefficient and we divide each one of those numbers by that leading coefficient. And then we reduce these fractions if possible. So in this first one, you can reduce it to 2. And the second one, 5/3, you can't reduce that. So that stays as 5/3. Now, in the Kim trick, if you still have a denominator number, then you're going to bring that in front of the variable in the same parentheses. Since this reduced to just a whole number, we don't have to do that in this parentheses. But you do here because the 5/3 didn't reduce and it's still a fraction. So you want to take that denominator and put it right in front of the variable in the same parentheses. So that would be 3x, and then the numerator stays there. And that would be your second factor. And so these are the factors for this trinomial. You can FOIL it, just make sure that is a true statement, and you should get back your original trinomial. Okay, let's try that again using the Kim trick with example number 2. So looking at example number 2, we notice that there is no GCF that we can factor out, so we go to step number 2. So we take our leading coefficient, multiply it by the last term, so that would give me x squared plus 16x minus 36. So we're trying to find a combination of when I multiply two numbers together, I get negative 36. And when I add those two numbers together, I would get a positive 16. So I can write down the combinations, the factors of 36. And the one that would make this true is 2 and 18. 2 and 18. Now one of these has to be negative because we have a negative 36 here. But when I add together, I want a positive 16. So make sure you be careful where you put your negative sign. So in this example, the negative has to be on the 2 to get a positive 16 when I add together. So let's write down these factors. X is here, so it'll be x minus 2 times x plus 18. To finish up the Kim trick, we take back our leading coefficient and we divide each one of these by the leading coefficient. And then we reduce. So that gives me x minus 1/6 and x plus 3/2. So in this case, it stayed a fraction. And so now I'm going to take that denominator and move it right in front in the same parentheses of that variable. So I get 6x minus 1. Same thing here, bring that 2 right over. And so I get 2x plus 3. And these would be the factors for our trinomial. So this is using the Kim trick by factoring trinomials. Just a reminder, the Kim trick will work for every trinomial that you need to factor. Thank you.